Hello everyone, I'm Ben, and in this video we're going to be creating a water system in Unreal Engine 4.26 Preview 3. Okay, let's get into it. So first off, if you're in Unreal and you want to create some water, you go to Place Actors and you type water and you don't get any results. Okay, we just need to go to Editor, Plugins, and turn on the water. So we'll go to Search Field, type water, and with water, get that full suite of water tools. Yes, please. Enable it. We'll need to restart, so Lovely, back in the engine now. Close this, and I'm going to open up my example map. Okay, here I am in an example file, and all that's in this level is some clouds and some lighting and atmospheric fog that I created in another video, so you can go ahead and check that out if you like. Now to go ahead and create some water, we can come over to Place Actors and search classes for water, and you can see we get Water Body Custom. So if we drop that in, we can see straight away we get some water, and we can pump the scale up to maybe 100, and voila, we have some lovely looking water. Thank you very much, Epic. It's gorgeous. Okay, but I'd like to have something that's integrated a little bit more with the landscape. So what I'm going to do is delete this, and for instance, the water body, lake, ocean, and river can all be integrated with the landscape. So I'm going to create a landscape. So I'll go to Modes, Landscape. And when I create the landscape, to ensure that the water bodies can interact with or edit the landscape, I'm going to make sure that Enable Edit Layers is ticked on and click Create. You can go ahead and sculpt this to your liking. I'm just going to switch back to my select mode. And with my landscape selected, I'm going to go over and give it a very simple material. So I've got a little terrain, flat color that I like, and just drop that on. Okay, so here's my landscape. I now want to create a water body ocean, so I can just drag it in. And once that's done, it doesn't look like just about anything's happened. And what I'm going to do is just go and zero out the X and the Y. And if we have a look now, we can see, oh, nice. It's actually clipped my landscape or changed the contours of it so that it dips down now at the edges where the ocean meets the landscape. So if we want to control just how this falls away from basically the shoreline to the edge of the landscape, if we select our water body ocean, we can come down and see that under terrain, curve settings, there's this elevation curve asset. And if you double click that, what you'll see is that this contour here is very similar to this contour. And that's because this contour is driving this contour. So if you like, you can go and middle click on here and create some rather unusual or perhaps turbulent features if there was a storm over winter, but I'm just going to undo those and return to the normal defaults. Okay, so moving on up, now I'm saying, all right, how do I edit this? This doesn't, don't want to have a square, so I'll just grab one of these corners and move it in so I get something like that. Yeah, cool, I've got a boomerang. I like that. And I want to maybe extend this around a little bit, and I'm digging that. That's looking cool. So down here we can see it's looking quite nice, although I'm not really liking this little bit of foam here. It's kind of looking very tiled, so I want to get rid of that foam. So I'm going to select my water body ocean and come down to the material and coming down, here it is. So water material, I'll double click on that, and you can see here it's got the default speed, so you can change the speed of the ocean if you like. And for instance, if we take that up to 5, you'll see it rippling away. I'll go back to the default, and you can play around with some of the other parameters as well. If you like, I want to come down here, and under general foam, I want to turn the opacity to 0. And we should see that's almost gone. Could be a little hard to see, but there is actually a little bit of emissive power that's still there that's maybe hard to see. So I'm going to turn on the foam emissive and set that down as well. Okay, now I shouldn't see any foam, and it's just all smooth. Very nice. And I'm just going to unhide some meshes. So I've got a nice little scene. And on this little island, I'm pretty happy with the way the water is right now. So I'm going to go and create a lake, because who doesn't like a lake on an island? Yeah, that looks good. All right, but I'd like this to be a little bit higher up. So maybe I'll bring it up like so. Now I can see I've kind of overflowing, it's losing a bit of the water here. So with the lake selected, I'm going to come up and I'm going to adjust our edge offset. So I'll make this one a little wider, and perhaps you even may want to make it a little taller, depending on what you're after. And this one as well, you can just go and adjust the contours of the perimeter to get the look you like by adjusting the spline points as normal, and you can step through the different spline points here. Okay, so last but not least, well, this is going to be a bit of a rocket island. So there's this this water supply up here, and it needs to come down here and shoot back down to the ocean. So we'll create a river and drop the river in, and you can see it creates a spline, and it's got 3 points on it. And I'm just going to grab one of these points, and it's going to go from the fuel reservoir, if you will, and then it's going to go into the ocean. And I'll move this midpoint to somewhere a little bit more mid so that I don't take out the chairs. Otherwise, all the people sitting in them will be very displeased. Got to keep them happy. And we can see this is just absolutely torn up. So I will grab this point and raise it up so that it's just about coincident. Now to get this a little bit more to be a nicer transition, what I'm going to do is going to grab the Bezier handle here and just kind of flatten it out. All right, that's looking better. Again, I've got this overflow happening on the side, so I'll adjust that shortly, but I just want to make sure I get my levels roughly right. Now you can see I've got some water flowing uphill here. And so if I select this water body river and down under my selected points, you can see that the water has a depth, river depth, has a velocity, and it's 128. So it's actually going along the spline at 128. And sometimes you're going to find that the water is going uphill or downhill with a positive number. So sometimes you'll need to use a positive or a negative number. In this case, I actually need to use a negative number and punch that in. And you can see that with that 1 point selected, that's only affecting that 1 point up here. So I need to make sure I'm grabbing them all and typing -128. So now they're all heading back down. Well, they should be. I do believe I've missed that one. So the middle one, -128. And there we go. The other thing you may want to do to get a little bit more of a seamless transition here is to select the final point and just set the velocity to 0. And that will help with the blending between this ocean water body and this river. And that's being done because all of these water surfaces are actually being pushed over and compiled by this water brush manager and water mesh actor. Okay, fixing up this river. Lastly, I'll got the river come up to the terrain, and I'm just going to go and give a little bit of edge offset and a little bit of height. And yeah, I've got a channel. Okay, this is looking lovely, but perhaps we'd like to change the color of the water and make some larger waves. So I'm going to select my water body ocean and scroll down from the top to this rendering water material. I'll double click on the icon, and you can see that I've back to here where I have all these parameters, and I would encourage you to explore and play around with the ones that you like. The one that I'm interested in right now is the absorption, and this is going to control what wavelengths of light are absorbed and how much at which depth. So you can look up online like Wikipedia, but you don't need to be too much into it unless you're trying to do something physically accurate. And in this case, I'm just going to open up here, and you can see that our red, green, and blue have unusual values because these are actually in meters. And so what I'm going to do is just treat these proportionately. That, for instance, if I want to have a lot more red, well, I'll just put in maybe 500 and drop down the blue so it's not so pink, and maybe 100, like so. And so that should be a fairly intuitive way to treat these numbers. They're not going to be 0 to 1 kind of normalized values that you're used to. This alpha here is a multiplier, so you can see that if we drop that down, it is much more foreboding, like the water in hell perhaps, although that looks like a hell that I'd visit. Okay, I'll cancel that because I think the defaults are picturesque, looking lovely. However, I do want to get a little crazy with the waves, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and make sure I've got my water body ocean still selected. And down under wave, we have our wave source. And you can see by default I have this asset reference set. And if I go and choose Gristno water waves, I have this waves drop down that I can open up and make sure that my Gristno wave generator, if I open that up, has these additional properties. So I can go to the default and see I can drop down the number of waves so that I get these kind of larger rolling waves, or go and up it to maybe something like 64, which is a bit crazy. So what I'll then do is just leave this at the default, and I can explore my wavelengths to get the sizes that I'm looking for between waves, and also the amplitude. Perhaps it's been a very rough sea in the middle of winter, and there we go, we've got a bit more wave height. Okay, I'll drop that back down to the default. And if you like, you can also play around with the directions and steepness and so on. Okay, I hope that helps, and I'll see you in another video.